Nike released a 40-second Caitlyn Clark commercial and it absolutely shattered the internet. Just minutes after the advertisement went live, the shoe completely sold out in a historic record-setting 1 minute, yes, literally one, and almost right away, an entire wave of critics completely lost their composure. Nike's decision to finally feature Caitlyn Clark in a solo commercial was far more than a simple marketing play. They were officially crowning a new queen of women's sports. And that decision has plenty of people furious, from opposing fan bases to bitter veterans. The backlash has been intense and relentless. But the louder the noise becomes, the clearer the reality is. Caitlyn's ascent is inevitable. And the real question now is how far her detractors are willing to go to try to stop something they clearly have zero control over. Before we dive into all the outrage and backlash, let's rewind for a moment. What exactly did Nike put on screen that ignited such chaos across the internet? Let's break down the advertisement that has everyone talking. The commercial opens with Caitlyn Clark tying up her sneakers, relaxed, locked in, and completely dialed in. As she pulls the laces tight, the camera slowly zooms into her eyes for a brief instant. They flash, narrow, and glow yellow. It happens fast, but the impact is undeniable. A daring reference to Kobe Bryant's iconic Black Mamba persona and a clear signal that Clark is prepared to carry the torch forward.
Bouncing connection. Lays it in on a delectable dime for Caitlyn Clark.
Before the official launch, fans had already spotted Caitlyn Clark wearing the shoes on the court throughout her college career. At the time, most people assumed they were simply her preferred pair. But what many didn't realize was that she actually referred to them as her magic shoes. As it turns out, they weren't only meaningful to her. They were about to become meaningful to the entire world. Because now everyone finally had the opportunity to wear them as well.
I packed 3 pairs. I didn't know which ones I was going to go with. All had a little bit of yellow in them. But these are my Bruce Lee Kobe's that I've worn literally every big game of my career at Iowa. So I was like, I have to break them out. So I didn't pick any of my PEs today. You could probably get these or find them, probably buy them on the secondary market, but they're kind of hard to come by. But I mean, there was no other option. I had to choose these, and yeah, they're kind of like my magic shoes, honestly.
Different critics and various circles of haters delivered their own complaints about the commercial and the sneakers. Some people outright rejected the idea of Nike presenting it as a Kobe and Caitlyn collaboration.
I was having a argument, or I would say a friendly debate with a friend of mine about this, and he said that, because Caitlyn hasn't, because she's fairly new in the WNBA. I know this is the second year, but she hasn't proven that she could sell shoes, so the collaboration is a smart move by Nike, because you add a big thing like Kobe Bryant to it, it's gonna sell.
And that clip alone said everything. The frustration in his voice wasn't solely about the commercial itself, it was about the message behind it. To him, Nike linking Caitlyn Clark to Kobe's legacy wasn't a tribute, it was a dependency. He didn't believe she was capable of selling shoes by herself. Not without a legendary figure like Kobe Bryant propping up the brand. In his view, the Black Mamba influence was doing all the work. But here's the twist, those shoes still sold out in under 60 seconds. So maybe the real question isn't whether Caitlyn needed Kobe. It's why some people still refuse to admit that she didn't. His awful take is rooted in the reality that women's sports, particularly the WNBA, have historically struggled with viewership and media support. High-budget commercials are uncommon and signature shoe deals are even more rare, so in his mind, there was no possible way a female athlete, especially a rookie, could generate those kinds of numbers on her own. He believes the Kobe association was the sole reason the shoes sold out. Not her skill, not her popularity, not the millions of fans who show up for her every single game. Just Kobe, and that mentality is exactly why moments like this are so important.
Some of you guys, you had an absolute movie today on Nike Sneakers app. But let's be real, a majority of us saw this screen today from the Caitlyn Clark Kobe drop. Like all the sneaker blogs have been...
Caitlyn Clark forced him to swallow his words as the initial 13,000 pairs completely sold out in less than a minute after release. The $190 retail price quickly became a distant memory as secondary markets popped up. and pairs began reselling for anywhere between $350 and $600 by the end of the day. Stocks. The leading benchmark for sneaker value showed the average resale price landing at $365, with the most sought-after sizes climbing as high as $800. But here's where things get even more interesting. While critics and haters looked down on Caitlyn, many of her supporters questioned why Nike didn't act faster. It was obvious from the moment Caitlyn Clark stepped into the WNBA that she was the real deal. But Nike was dealing with internal struggles before locking in a deal with Caitlyn Clark. They were attempting to promote a different superstar. And this is where some of the resentment is coming from today. Nike's original focus was Las Vegas. Aces star A'ja Wilson. They handed her a $20 million per year contract and tried to craft an underdog storyline around her, with flashy marketing campaigns. But the harsh truth for A'ja is that you can't manufacture what Caitlyn Clark brings naturally. While Nike bent over backward to elevate A'ja Wilson, Caitlyn Clark had already created a tidal wave of momentum entirely on her own. Back in college, she generated an astonishing $80 million in economic impact for the state of Iowa without any corporate assistance. All Clark ever needed was a basketball and a hoop. But Nike was too busy checking social justice boxes to recognize that the true game changer was already standing right in front of them.
Finally delivers Caitlyn Clark. Is this the first Caitlyn Clark exclusive Nike commercial since she's entered the WNBA? I know she's made a cameo here, she's made a cameo there, she was featured as part of this rollout here, featured as part of this rollout there, but is this our first official?
This is what is fueling a lot of the resentment. Last season, A'ja Wilson and her circle attempted to frame themselves as overlooked because of a certain rookie. She even went as far as labeling Caitlyn Clark as benefiting from white girl privilege.
It's not really about me. She knows how her privilege has gotten her to that point, and also like she's good at basketball, obviously. But, like she understands her privilege and like pushes her over the top in a sense. It reminds me a lot of
One thing that initially gave A'ja the spotlight was her $20 million Nike deal and her signature shoe, the A1. But all of that is now being overshadowed, as Caitlyn signed a $28 million Nike deal in her rookie season and launched a release that is pushing A'ja Wilson's gears straight into the clearance section. The Caitlyn Clark effect isn't just a catchy phrase, it's real, it's enormous. And the numbers back it up with her on the floor. When NBA viewership reached levels it hadn't seen in nearly 25 years. Games featuring Caitlyn's Indiana Fever averaged an incredible 1.9 million viewers, while games without her struggled to reach 414,000. That's an unbelievable 163% increase, and it doesn't stop with television ratings. Her presence physically put people in seats. League-wide attendance surged by 105%. And out of all WNBA games, 33.5% of total attendance came from just her 41 appearances. That's not someone nudging the needle, that is
Again and again, Caitlyn Clark is must-see TV. Caitlyn Clark already is having Michael Jordan effect on the WNBA. The same effect Michael Jordan had in his first couple of years in the NBA.
Before turning professional, she was breaking records. Her final college appearance in the 2024 NCAA Women's Championship attracted 18.9 million viewers. That's more than 4 million higher than the men's final. She wasn't just drawing attention, she was redefining what's possible in women's sports.
She was an unstoppable force last season against Iowa, but was coming off the bench. Clark, oh my, from the future!
And the craziest part is that this Kobe edition causing all this noise is only the beginning. Caitlyn Clark's official signature shoe is still set to release later this year. Just imagine the meltdown her critics are going to have when that one drops. Only 12 women in the WNBA's 28-year history have ever received their own signature shoe. That fact alone speaks volumes. Caitlyn Clark may only be entering her second season, but she has already secured her place among the game's all-time greats. That $28 million deal that once looked like a gamble for Nike now appears to be an absolute steal. It sends a clear message to rival brands like Reebok, who signed Angel Reese, and even Adidas. Female athletes are no longer willing to accept a fraction of what men earn. It's a powerful declaration to the corporate world that women's sports are a legitimate and valuable investment. And it all traces back to one woman, Caitlyn Elizabeth Clark. She is creating a ripple effect where rising salaries, larger media deals, and lucrative sponsorships become the standard. Caitlyn Clark has evolved into far more than a basketball player. She has become a lightning rod for controversy, whether she wants it or not. Her name keeps getting dragged into politically charged debates, often hijacked by commentators pushing divisive and toxic narratives, and for a brand like Nike, known for avoiding messiness and playing it safe, this was unfamiliar territory.
It looks to me like maybe 20% of the attention she gets is for her ratings and what she's doing for the league. And then the other 80% is people either criticizing her or coming after her, or the things with the refs, or we need to protect her. She needs a bodyguard.
Nike froze. They didn't know how to respond. They stayed silent not because they failed to see her value, but because they were afraid. But eventually something changed. They stopped trying to win an unwinnable cultural argument and chose instead to focus on what they do best, winning in the marketplace.
Now she has an 8-year, $128 million deal with Nike. So, she's going to eat. Merchandise in the league went up off a rookie from a Midwest-based school on the worst team in the league, 234%. But here was the one that struck me. So before she got there, the Indiana Fever, the valuation of the franchise was $90 million. Remember, they play a short season. It's not like the NBA where it lasts like 6 months. After playing, 40 games, the valuation of that team now is $340 million.
People argued endlessly online. The numbers told the real story. Everything from ticket sales and television ratings to jersey demand and website traffic pointed in one clear direction. Caitlyn Clark wasn't just popular. She was dominant. The data was impossible to ignore. A prime example is the drop-off the WNBA experienced once Caitlyn Clark suffered an injury.
If you listen to the reports, Rebecca, they looked at Caitlyn Clark and they said when she was out over these 5 games with a quadricep injury, there was a diminished interest to some degree in the WNBA.
Nike made a decision. Stop chasing validation from critics who were never going to be satisfied. Instead, back the one player who was already transforming the entire sport. At the end of the day, Caitlyn Clark didn't ask for the spotlight. It found her, and when it did, she didn't hesitate. While the world debated whether she was ready, she just kept playing. She kept filling arenas, shattering records, and now selling out shoes in seconds. Nike finally stopped stalling and did what they should have done from the beginning. Bet on the one person who has already proven she doesn't just influence culture, she defines it. And now the industry has no choice but to follow. The numbers are too massive. The hype is too overwhelming. The game has been permanently altered. So whether you're supporting her or trying to tear her down, one thing is undeniable. Caitlyn Clark isn't just changing the game. She is the game.